What's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? This your boy D Money. We on another day in the life of a designer. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe. Make sure that y'all share with y'all friends and family, and make sure that y'all check out our From the Mud collection, which is on our website. Primarily, catching the vibes of pain, struggle, pressure, turn into transformation, growth, and what I'm saying, success. So make sure you tap in with that. We also got our spoken word album, which is available on all streaming platforms. We just dropped 2 new videos, From the Mud and Twinkle Twinkle. So make sure that you guys tap in and check that joint out. It's definitely a vibe. Got some New Jersey, club music sounds. Got some 808 beats on that joint. So, it's kind of got some hip hop vibes, but strictly, free form poetry. And we also got the poetry book available on all book platforms and at your local library as well, too. So definitely tap in. Now, what we're going to be talking about tonight is the cost of being early. And there's very few, designers that actually, are original in their, design language, and, ultimately, have their own style and how they create and, how they design their garments. But, for the masses, they primarily stay with the trends. They primarily, use the 3% rule where they'll tap in with what somebody has already created and then just add 3% of what, is them into it. You feel me? So that way they make it their own. So, what happens when, your vision already arrives before the market is ready? You feel me? That's not the opening question, but, that's the cost of being early. You feel me? Because you're already familiar with, the future customer and the generation after us. You feel me? Now we going into, which is the harder question. What does a designer do when the thing they're building makes sense to them before it makes sense to everyone else? You feel me? How do you know you're already ahead of the market instead of simply just being wrong? And, for me, this is something that I had to, learn for my own design language, because a lot of the designs that, I created for Dreams of Rulers is, abstract and surreal art, something a little bit, old, but at the same time brand new in the, form of, fashion. You feel me? You see, variations of abstract art, but you don't really see too much surrealism. So what's good, Braden? Appreciate you for tapping in. Make sure that you like, share, the live, and make sure that you check out our other content as well, too. We also got our From the Mud collection and poetry, spoken word and book available as well, too. So definitely go tap in with that. What we talking about tonight is, the cost of being early. So let's just get into it. Being early feels, a lot like being wrong, especially in the beginning. It's an uncomfortable reality of creating something without, immediate validation. You feel me? Nobody understands it. Nobody is asking for it. Competitors aren't doing it. The numbers aren't even oppressive. You feel me? To the point where you feel comfortable. Appreciate you. We almost there. We at, 9:57 right now, as of the start of the live. So, we ain't too far away. We just need, that consistent support from everybody. And, everybody tapping into our, content as well, too. So that way, because first and foremost, let me say this. Our content is not, attention grabbing. It's actually got gems within it. You feel me? Gems that you can implement into your own brand without, feeling like, is this going to mess up what I'm doing? You feel me? So definitely tap in, check it out, and take note. You feel me? But when it comes to, being early, you know, like I said, the numbers aren't impressive in the beginning. People compare it to things that already exist. And most times it doesn't even align with those things that they compare it to. You know what I'm saying? The tension really is, the early vision, they don't understand it yet. The bad idea, I'm refusing to accept reality. The designer has to learn the difference. Appreciate you, Braden. Appreciate you. But yeah, the market doesn't always know what it wants. Consumers are very good at describing things, they've already experienced. They're less reliable as, describing things they've never encountered. And if, you're a customer could already explain exactly what they wanted, would they need a designer? Of course not. You feel me? The designer's job isn't simply to fulfill demand. Sometimes it's introducing new possibilities. You feel me? When, the category doesn't exist yet, this kind of connects to our philosophy of street luxury. You feel me? But, primarily before a category becomes obvious, people often struggle to describe it. You feel me? They ask, is it, streetwear? Is it luxury? Is it contemporary? Is it, independent? Is it a designer fashion? Sometimes difficulty isn't the product. The language, hasn't caught up to the idea. Appreciate you. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Make sure that y'all like and share the live as well too. Appreciate you. Sometimes the difficulty isn't the product. The language hasn't caught up to the idea. And, does every new category begin as something people don't know how to categorize? And a lot of times that's what it really is. People are trying to find a box to put it in and pause. And, they really just don't know where to, put it until the audience, the community, the customers, fully start to tap in. And, the danger of falling in love with being misunderstood, this is where, this aligns with me, because being misunderstood doesn't automatically make you a visionary. You feel me? You gotta, go through the experiences of being a designer and, the struggles, the ups, to actually understand whether, you have those capabilities of being a, visionary or, just being a good designer. You feel me? Sometimes the market is wrong and sometimes the designer is wrong. Sometimes the idea is right, but the execution is wrong. And sometimes the timing is wrong. Sometimes it's just the communication is wrong. You feel me? A serious designer has to investigate all these five dilemmas. You feel me? Dreams of rulers, the real test is we don't ask, do people understand dreams of ruler? We ask, what evidence would convince me that I'm wrong? You feel me? That's a, much harder question. Would you change a silhouette? Would you change, a material, a price, a product, a collection, distribution, messaging? You feel me? What would you never change? The distinction becomes the difference between vision and ego. You feel me? When should, a designer pivot? Mainly it's, building the decision framework. Change the, execution when the idea is strong, but the product isn't working. You feel me? Change the communication when, the product works, but nobody understands the proposition. Change the, distribution when the right customer exists, but can't access the product. Change the economies when, customers value it, but the business cannot sustain it. Protect the vision when changing it would, destroy the reason the idea exists. You feel me? What kind of vision is sacred, and what part is simply, your current solution? Because see, the part of my vision that's actually sacred, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be live tomorrow, Braden. I'm live every day around this time. Normally around like 11:30, 12 o'clock. But yeah, we live every day now, bro. Definitely, tapping in, trying to give you guys these gems of, behind the scenes footage, also, the mindset framework of a designer, the designer eye, language, everything that I possibly can. Appreciate y'all for tapping in, first and foremost. Feel me? But, back to the conversation at hand. The cost of arriving early, being early can cost you, money, time, relationships, opportunities, confidence, market share, and momentum. And there may be, no immediate reward, but there's always possibility, someone else eventually arrives at the same idea after the market is ready. Then everyone asks, where did this come from? You know what I'm saying? The original creator may be already gone. But that's the frustrating part of innovation. Being first and being recognized for being first are not the same thing. What Dreams of Rulers actually is testing is, it's not, can I sell clothes? It's can I build a commercially viable fashion house around an idea that doesn't fit neatly into the existing categories of fashion? You feel me? That's a much harder experiment because, a lot of the things that we're doing is brand new to the fashion world, even though, some of the things that are involved in it are variations of things that already exist. You feel me? The answer won't, come from one collection, comes through years of evidence. You feel me? Final question is, if nobody validated this for another 5 years, but I still believe it deserves to exist. And ultimately, for me, I feel that way. Appreciate you, Braden. But yeah, without no music, no distractions, the harder question becomes, if the answer is yes, what evidence am I willing to, gather during those 5 years to make sure I'm not, simply protecting my ego? Because being early isn't an excuse for, failure. Being misunderstood isn't, proof of genius. And persistence isn't automatically courage. You feel me? Sometimes the market is telling you something you need to hear, but sometimes the market simply hasn't caught up yet. The designer's responsibility is to know the difference. That's the dangerous part of building something original. You have to protect the idea without becoming imprisoned by it. And, the question isn't whether the world understands the vision today. The question is whether the vision can survive long enough to provide what it is. You feel me? So, honestly, this kind of goes back to our Day in the Life episode where we're talking about, design language and, pretty much understanding, as well too, the power of restraint in your design process and, your marketing process, your overall campaigns for collections. So that way you can understand, the whole framework of what you're about to put out there. And then also, you got to do tests as well too. Not with your friends, not with your family, with random strangers. You feel me? Sometimes it's good to, tap in with, people on the street, see if they like your clothes, see if they like, the products that you put together, giving them a little sneak peek. Doesn't mean you got to sell everything right away, but it's good to get people's opinion, early on. So that way, if they present some of the things that you already saw that you might want to change, but you haven't changed yet, then, at least you got, your answer for somebody with solid information. You feel me? And that's ultimately the key. Make sure that, you're getting the information you need in order to move forward. So keep visualizing, you know what I'm saying? All it takes is a solid plan, research and execution in order to achieve your dreams and goals. Make sure you guys also check out our From the Mud collection, which is on our website. Make sure you check out the spoken word album, which is available on all streaming platforms. And we just dropped 2 new spoken word videos, From the Mud and Twinkle Twinkle, which is on your favorite streaming platform. And we also got the poetry book, which is available on all book platforms at your local library. So make sure that you tap in, make sure that you show love, keep visualizing your purpose, and I'll catch y'all on the next stream. I'm out.